This is Dr. Mariah White, host of Your Life Matters. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Disarming disability.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kelly, and I'm a speaker and an activist.
And hi, I'm Sarah Tuberty. I'm an occupational therapy student, a flight attendant, and an aerial artist.
We both live with a disability. We both were born with a congenital limb difference and are hosts of a new podcast, Disarming Disability, coming to you on Public House Media.
So come, learn, explore, and understand disability so we can deconstruct these social stigmas and really build a more inclusive society.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or at publichousemedia.org. Come hang out with us every Wednesday. Also follow us on Twitter at DisarmDisable, Instagram and Facebook at Disarming Disability, and check out our website at disarmingdisability.com.
Bye!
Welcome to Beauties and Headcanons, where we're nerdy and you probably are too. This is Emily, and here we are today. I'm here with Lindsay and Elisabeth, and we're here to talk about Game of Thrones. Because we're about almost 3 weeks into the new season now, so we have 2 new episodes of Game of Thrones, and we're awaiting the third. Well, Elisabeth and I are awaiting the third. Lindsay is doing a little bit of catching up, but that's kind of exciting because it also encouraged me to go back and watch a little bit from previous seasons and stuff too. And I have another friend who maybe just finished season 5 or so, something like that. So I've been kind of reviewing some of the older seasons, especially since when I first got introduced to Game of Thrones, there were already 5 or 6 seasons. There were 5 seasons when I first got introduced. So we binged it and then caught up to wherever it was on the live episodes, and have been trying to keep up ever since. So now that we have the opportunity to go back, my husband gets HBO through his job, so that's convenient. So we are able to do all of that and check out the older episodes through our cable package through his job.
What's funny to me is that I was watching it from season 1, and I stopped dead at the end of season 4.
Yeah, I remember I started watching around when it started coming out, and I got kind of busy and preoccupied with other stuff, so I kind of just dropped off gradually watching it. And then I think it was right around the time my son was born, I was like, you know what? I want to catch up with this. So I actually went all the way back to season 1 and I started binge watching it. And my husband, up until that point, hadn't seen any of it. And of course, whenever I start watching a new series, he's just like, oh, okay, whatever. And he just, plays a video game or does whatever he wants to do while I'm watching something. And inevitably, he starts watching it with me. And usually starts getting into it with me. So by the time they got up to that episode with Oberyn Martell, he was super into it, and he loved Oberyn Martell. And then of course, the mountain killed him, and he was just like, oh, if it wasn't for me pushing ahead and watching it, he probably would have stopped at the same point.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I really liked Oberyn as well as a character, and I had been warned that pretty much any likable character in this show is probably going to die.
Yes.
So, I picked my favorites, I liked characters, I still like characters, and I've just kind of accepted that they might not stick around very long.
Yeah.
So, I had been prepared at least that much, but...
Yeah, it's one of those things where, the characters you like, you just be aware that they could die at literally any minute.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that sort of happened to me at the Red Wedding too.
Yes, I was just gonna say the same thing.
I should have known better after that.
I should have known better before that, because I had heard people are gonna die, and then when I was asked like had I gotten to the red wedding yet? I'm like, what's the red wedding? And
Right,
they're like,
right.
did you not see
I
all
remember
those
that.
people? I'm like, that's what that's called? I didn't realize that like they gave it a name.
Yeah.
Because that's not what the episode is called,
Yeah.
obviously.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
want to spoil everything. By the way,
Alright.
speaking of spoilers and not giving away spoilers, the the listings on HBO to watch the old episodes are super vague.
They
And
are
it's like,
super vague.
If you've watched them before, you know exactly what's happening, and if you haven't watched them before, you have no idea what's happening.
You have no idea what the episode's about. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Nothing.
exactly. It's beautiful. Like that is some great writing right there because
Yeah, big props to that.
they're
Yeah, but
like just enough.
if you're looking for a specific episode, though, like I was, to see where I had stopped, so I didn't have to watch all of season 4,
Oh,
then
that would be
you would
harder.
have. Right, I would have needed a little bit more information. I think the best I got
Yeah.
was, it's just so vague. Like, so and so contemplates this.
Right? Like
A person meets a person. Like,
one of them
That's-
was literally like Tyrion travels or something like that. I'm like, really? Of
That's-
all the descriptions.
That's why
right,
does
the
a lot of
descriptions definitely
traveling.
give nothing away.
That's why you got to go on
Okay.
Wikipedia to their episode listings
Oh,
because
sure.
Oh.
they'll usually give you a little bit better description
Okay,
because
I
that's
will
what
make sure not to go on Wikipedia.
because that's what I normally do. Well, like when I accidentally fall behind in certain TV series, because those like episode listings where wherever they're listed, they usually are kind of vague, and I'm like, okay, I need to know exactly what's going on, so I go to Wikipedia because they'll actually
Yeah.
have the summary of everything that happened in the episode, and I can easily pinpoint. Okay, yeah, I saw that. You know what? I don't think I saw
That's
that, so that must be where I left off.
Yeah. What's really funny for me is like just on other shows, my husband usually is well, because he really got me into Stargate, and so we would watch some episodes together, and then I'd be like, oh, I forgot which episode I left off on. I don't know, and so I would have him read the description on Netflix or whatever I was watching on. I think it's on Hulu now. It's not on Prime anymore. So it had been on Prime and now it's gone, but it's on Hulu still. And the descriptions for Stargate are a little bit more descriptive, and so he'd like not look at them, or he would tell me not to look at them just in case I like didn't want to know something.
Whereas I'm over here like, oh no, just go ahead and tell me everything.
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't bother me either because I would watch it anyways. But I would be like looking for that specific thing, you know? What I
yeah.
mean? Anywho, Game of Thrones is. I was not expecting it to be a show I would ever get into. Just gonna throw that out there because like no, I started watching later in the game. Later. Puns.
Puns.
And like it was definitely it was probably my first like adult TV series to get into. Because I had never watched anything with like blatant exposure or language like that before, so I was kind of thrown into it, like
Thrown right into the
friends
deep
were really
end.
into the show. Yeah, right into the deep end. Because like, yeah, it's my first grown-up show, we'll say. So
Well, I knew I pretty much wanted to get in on this because I had heard of the books, and for a little bit I debated on whether I wanted to, wait for the series to finish or like watch the TV show, but I decided, you know what, I'll just go ahead and watch the TV show because, it's an adaptation and, different forms of media. It's bound to be different and everything, and that's fine. And I mean, I'm glad I did because the series is still unfinished and we're going to be wrapping up on the last season here, so
right.
good choice there. But I knew it would be something I would be interested in because it's all of that, high fantasy, historical type of thing that I really like and enjoy. So I'm like, oh, yep, that's ticking, all the boxes for me. Okay, we have this fantasy historical type medievalish setting, check. We have, magic and dragons and all kinds of weird stuff going on, check. Oh, and we also have some, mature things going on. I do enjoy that, so check,
What I thought was really interesting is that I did read at least part of the first book, and it was right around the series coming out, and I got like halfway through the book, and then the mass market book fell apart. Like the binding was bad.
Oh no.
So, and I wasn't especially mean to the book in any way, shape, or form, but it just fell apart in my hands. And I ended up like dual deciding not to continue reading it. First, because the book fell apart. And then because the episodes were going so closely with the book.
Yeah.
That I felt like I was kind of just rereading, almost like rereading the script.
Gotcha.
So I decided to
just kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cool that
now
it
I
at least
don't know
started
how
out
much
like that.
of that, how much they go together now, obviously, and
Well,
it just didn't seem like something I wanted to continue to do if I wanted to, you know, spend my time rereading the same thing I just watched.
Well,
I gotcha.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because there's a YouTuber called Comic Book Girl 19, and she's a really big fan of like lots of different, you know, fantasy books and stuff like that. She's read the Song of Ice and Fire series, and she actually has taken the different seasons and like broken it down as to, you know, the events and like how they compare to the books and how they're different and what things are similar, you know, what things are kept and what things are changed and stuff like that. And she does a really good like analysis of, you know, how things are different. And I know it like started out where the books and the TV series were very similar, but like obviously the further on the series goes and the less material you run out, you know, the more material you run out with the books, you know, the more they've had to deviate from the books in the later seasons.
Yeah, which makes sense. I do appreciate that they started off very similarly, though.
Mm-hmm.
My husband read all of the first book, I think, and like he was kind of giving me little clues about the similarities and differences, and like, you know, certain characters are like very similar to how they're presented in the show, but they're like even more so, or like less than you know, like less annoying or more annoying, or less pompous or more pompous or whatever. And so it was interesting, the comparison. And he, you know, another thing he noticed as we were watching through the seasons was that when the episodes were keeping pace with the books, he said that the actual episodes felt more deliberate and more slow paced.
Oh yeah.
And had like a specific destination, and it was less like a movie in an episode. It was more like a chapter in an episode. And so so he said he was like, you know, now that the shows are like a little bit off of, you know, they're very off of the books. You know, it seems like the pace has picked up. It seems more like a cinematic thing as opposed to like a retelling or an adaptation of the book.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I think it especially picked up when they announced like the next two seasons were going to be the last two seasons.
Well, yeah,
because then they're like, okay, well now we got to wrap all of this stuff up, and they've got a lot to wrap up, so they're like,
they do.
Okay, which is why I kind of like thought it was funny that in the first episode of the new season they just kind of like hammered in that really big news right at the end there.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's pretty quick, but I mean, you know, they only have like 6 episodes to do this in, so we got to just go ahead and get it over with instead of drawing it out.
No, exactly. I'm like, well, I don't like love that the pacing is going so quickly, but at least the whole story's getting told, and it doesn't feel like things are out of place to me.
Yeah, I feel.
And this is, sorry. It's funny that you guys say that because I was told episode 1 had like nothing happen.
Well, it's funny because the first 2 episodes are actually like, I would term happy episodes where like nobody really dies. Well, I mean, somebody kind of dies in the second one, but it's not like a major player character that like, you know, everybody loves. It's like kind of like inconsequential character. Yeah. So yeah, like I would term them like happy episodes. They're pretty much setting up for the Night King to come in and fight their forces at Winterfell. Yeah. So this next episode that's coming up on Sunday, the Night King has arrived at Winterfell, and they're going to fight, and I know that people are going to die. I just don't know who yet.
Yep.
So,
It's coming.
yep,
It's
it is coming.
Winter's
here.
here.
It is
It's
knocking
here.
on the door.
Okay.
Yep. Well, and so after I watched the first episode, I felt like I had watched a really, really, really long teaser trailer for the first season.
Yes.
That's what I felt.
And, I know that they were talking about how these episodes are supposed to be, like, longer. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like it was really... This feels like it was a pretty average length.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that next
This
episode...
coming episode.
is the one that they're going to start doing the longer episodes.
This one's going to be their longest episode of the entire season.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the lengths are going to be afterward, but I know this one is the longest one.
Yeah. Well, I know that they were talking about the battle. They were kind of basing it off of the battles from Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, well, that is a pretty good standard to, go off of.
Those are probably the best fantasy battles ever.
Oh, God, yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And it's like the right setting and all of that, Yeah, that's a really great way to base it, actually.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So does anyone know why they didn't do any seasons last year? Because I feel like I forgot
kind of.
all of my friends who were into Game of Thrones.
I know that the filming got delayed a ton because the weather wasn't bad enough. They had to wait for really bad weather to actually film certain parts.
They had to wait for winter.
Right, they had to wait for winter. They had to wait for poor weather so that they could get their lighting and all their effects and everything. So that was part of it, but I'm not sure if there was anything else as far as like editing or casting or anything like that.
Okay. That makes sense. I was just like hit by this barrage of people who have been waiting for the season to come out, and like the pictures
finally!
of Game of Thrones Oreos and the spoilers on my Facebook page have been so like
I know,
just thrown at me.
I have been trying to be nice. I have only shared those, like out of context spoilers where, like, if you haven't seen the episode, you have no idea what is going on.
From last week's episode had a great one. It was so good.
Yes. And so that way I can, like, share my joy, but, like, if you haven't seen the episode, you still have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yep. I think I have seen those, and I'm still completely lost, so that's fine.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yep, that's great. Yep, that's the idea. So...
Do you guys have like a favorite character or least favorite character of the entire season or the entire show?
I love Daenerys. She's great.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. I've loved her development, like because she kind of went into the show like she was this innocent, like
timid,
naive, timid, innocent, and naive, and she basically made herself into this epic, like, warrior woman kind of thing. Like, she does kind of fight herself, but she's like, she values wisdom, and she realizes she's not the only person who can make good decisions.
Right, she almost kind of says, like, she knows she can't. She knows that she needs...
Right, yeah, yep.
Advisors.
Exactly. So, like, that makes me think, like, she's a smart leader, and and I love her development, the way she came from basically like this, I'm just a meek little child, to I am going to rule the world, and everybody's going to be okay with that.
Well, and the episode I just watched, when she meets Tyrion for the first time, he actually says that about her. Like, he says there was this child who came into her own and has been building an army on the other side of the world, and I had to at least meet her. Right,
exactly. Yep. And I love Tyrion too. He's
great. Who doesn't love Tyrion, really?
Right.
I mean, I think I liked Tyrion from day one.
Right?
You can't help but love him.
I mean, I knew, like, he was kind of a distasteful guy in the background, but I knew he was really smart. And I knew that he, like...
He has this air about him where it's like, you need to watch him because there's always going to be something interesting happening around him.
Yep, exactly.
My favorite is definitely Arya from day one. I've always
Arya's
loved
great.
Arya. I think it's
yeah.
because I kind of identify with her a little bit, being, you know, just like a tomboy and like trying to rebel a little bit against everything that, you know, she's trying to be shoehorned into.
Right,
And
yeah. Like even the first episode right away, she's like, I don't care that I'm a girl. I'm going to learn how to shoot archery.
yeah, I don't want to learn, you know, all this, you know, sewing and fancy needlework and stuff like that. Like, I want to learn how to fight. I want to learn how to
Right?
use swords and bows and arrows and stuff like that.
Right?
And she has this really great arc throughout the whole show where, you know, she starts out where she's just a little tomboy and she, you know, wants to learn all of this stuff. And when she finally gets the chance, you know, she just kind of throws herself into it. And no matter what happens, like, she's always, you know, you're trying to be resourceful and figure out, like, you know, basically how to get past whatever circumstance she's in, whether it's, you know, escaping King's Landing or it's, you know, being captured at Harrenhal and,
Right.
you know, or, you know, figuring out that she wants to go across the sea to Bravos to train with the
The Faceless Men?
Yeah. and it's just great to see her, you know, develop into this woman who is insanely skilled and, you know, just on this singular path where she is so focused on, you know, this whole idea of, you know, oh, she needs to complete this revenge, and then, oh, well, okay, my family's back in Winterfell, so now I want to go back to Winterfell, but I still, in the back of my mind, am keeping this revenge in my mind because,
Oh, yeah.
you know, if I get my chance, I'm definitely taking it.
Yep. And she has that skill set
Mm-hmm.
and everything where she takes that with her everywhere. Oh, Arya is a favorite, definitely.
All right, so what about least favorite male characters, since obviously our favorite characters are females?
Well, okay. Least favorite male has kind of gone around in circles for me. I never really liked Theon in general. I always found him really annoying, and I think the actor looks like a toad. No offense. I just think he looks like a toad. So I never really liked the character because I don't like the actor. But I'm sure he's a fine guy to be around. I don't know. I think he looks weird.
So he's your least favorite?
He's one of my least favorites. At first, like, he was, well, okay, once he left Winterfell the first time, he was definitely one of my least favorites because he seemed like such a terrible coward.
Because
And,
he was.
like, well, he really was, and he just really annoyed me. Who else?
I don't know. I can't stand Stannis.
Oh,
Stannis
gosh.
Baratheon. Especially after
So-
what he did to his daughter.
Yeah,
I just watched that
absolutely.
episode and I cried.
Oh my
Just-
god.
yeah,
that was
I
one
did
of the
too.
deaths I was telling you about, remember? When I told you that there were a couple of
That
deaths?
there's a heartbreaker coming.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
Yep.
I could not
Well,
watch.
I
I
mean,
could not
but-
watch it.
The best redeeming factor of that though is like then the next day half of his army deserts.
Yeah,
And
because their
then
morale
his-
is just broken. Because I mean,
Right.
what else are you going to think when your commander sacrifices his own daughter like
my
that?
God.
Like, holy crap! If he's willing to sacrifice his daughter like that, like, what is he
What
willing
else
to
is
do
he
with
willing-
us? You know?
Right. Right.
Well, and then his wife hangs herself,
Yeah.
And then he ends up dying.
and he ends
So
up
that
dying.
was really worth it, wasn't it, Stannis?
Totally
Really worth it.
Dennis. Way to go.
Does
yeah.
does the lady the crazy
red
lady,
woman?
does she die?
No, not that we've seen. Not that we've seen
Not that,
yet.
Yeah, not that we've seen.
But have you seen her?
Yes,
Since Stannis
she
passed away.
Yes,
Or
she was
killed.
banished by Jon.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yep.
Honestly though, my least favorite is still a female character.
Okay.
My least favorite is Sansa. And I think it's not even necessarily the character herself. It's the way that everybody talks her up. And that, you know, oh, she's just all this, and oh, she's had such great growth and everything like that. And I'm just looking at it like, what growth? What are you talking about? She's still useless. What does she do?
She's a lot less like, I'm a helpless princess, but she's also like
Like, she has
I don't
that
know.
air. Like, she now has an air about her that
Yes.
isn't that naive, innocent girl that she was. But at the same time, it's there's still nothing of substance there. Like, anything that she does has somebody else's fingerprints all over it. And everybody talks about how, oh, she's so good at playing the game. Like, no, she got lucky. So she was influenced into telling a lie for Littlefinger. She, convinced Littlefinger to bring the Knights of the Vale, which I think he probably manipulated her into doing because he wanted Winterfell to owe him to kind of get that influence. And then the whole thing
That's
with
everything that Littlefinger was about was gaining influence.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with Littlefinger and Arya and Sansa. Arya was the one conducting that whole thing. I mean, nobody can tell me otherwise that Arya was not the one conducting that. So, I mean, really, any big thing she's been involved with, she's pretty much been there by pure luck. So, I don't get the whole, oh, Sansa's so cool thing vibe, I guess. I don't know. So that to me is why I dislike her so much. Not necessarily her character, but the way people talk about her. Yes.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to invite our listeners to argue with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I have heard the same thing, that Sansa makes all this growth and stuff, but what I think is the most interesting to me is that she survives it.
Yeah, which I mean,
maybe
cool.
a lesser person would have hung up their coat and.
Well, I mean, Samwell is still alive. Samwell is a survivor, and he actually killed. Though that's the one thing I really love about the last episode. He was like, "You guys realize I was the first one to kill a White Walker,
Right?
So, but you can't just live off of that forever."
I know exactly, and that's my thing. It's like her luck's got to run out. Sooner or later, it's got to run out.
Well, and that's the thing. Honestly, it's maybe that's when we'll see all of the character development culminate for her. I don't know.
Maybe.
What happens when her and Theon do the big jump? Last time I saw them, that's what they did.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
They run away, and Sansa gets up with Jon, and then Ramsay knows that she's with Jon, so he sends a threatening letter to them about Rickon, their younger brother, trying to bait them into either bait them into fighting or convince them to give Sansa up. Either way, he wins. But I kind of thought that they were going to break their legs or something.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, are they jumping to their death right now? What's happening?
Well, that's why I had to mention the whole hanging up the coat and giving up thing, because at some point I feel like I just feel like I would have given up if I was her. All the things that she's had to go through is what I think makes her.
And that's the thing, though, is a lot of things she goes through is her fault. It's her fault. I mean,
except for being married to Ramsay.
Well, no, because she even got into that because she consented to doing all that, little hidey hide, knifey shiv dart thing with Littlefinger. So she's like, oh yeah, I want to do this too, and then that's when he got her into that. So, I mean, because if we think back to the beginning
Littlefinger's sly dog.
Well, I mean,
she probably didn't know exactly what she was getting into.
Oh no, and that's my point, though. That's my point, though, is even when you go back to the beginning of the series, she stuck up for Joffrey as opposed to her sister, which killed her direwolf, and it basically doomed her to being pushed together with Joffrey because she's all this starry-eyed about him, and then basically it's through her actions that her father is killed, because her father would have never been so up on Joffrey and all of, his dealings if she wasn't so adamant about staying, enamored with him and adamant about staying in King's Landing with Joffrey.
Right.
Okay. So this is not Bash Sansa episode. Let's talk about the Lannisters.
Oh, goodness. Well, Tyrion's great. We've already established
that.
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard that Sansa, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring her up again, but that she learned a lot from Cersei. What?
Yes, but...
What does that mean? She learned how to be an
I don't know.
awful woman?
I don't know. That's the thing. There is no real point at which you see this talk of, oh, she learned from Cersei and Littlefinger. You don't really see it.
Right, she learned
doesn't
deception, or...
But that's the thing. I think that's what people, I think, are referring to. But at the same time, if you look at the things that she's done, like I was saying, there's always somebody else's fingerprints all over it. There's always somebody influencing her and, like, guiding her along that path. So it's like, did she really learn from them? Or is she just putting up that front? It makes her seem like a tumbleweed.
It makes her seem like she's just letting stuff happen to her and never exacts any of it to happen.
Like she's just living passively.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, that's part of it, though, I think, is that she's surviving it. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe she learned just enough to be able to stay out of people's way who think like Littlefinger and Cersei, but at the same time, she didn't learn quite enough to actually apply it.
So what I think is so interesting is that I don't really have like a favorite and a not so favorite, because obviously I've got a couple seasons to watch before I can actually make those decisions, but I feel like Jaime Lannister is kind of a fine wine.
He's
growing
better.
on me. He's getting better with age.
Yes, I would agree. I absolutely despised him in the first earlier seasons.
Oh, of course, you can't push Bran out a window and then.
No, I mean first of all with that, and then second of all with continuing
to try to kill him.
Yeah, and then
framing his brother for that.
Right. Like, excuse me? Yeah, you can't do that. So, like, despised him. But then, like, he took that trip with Brienne, and kind of, you got to see a little bit more of who he is.
It's because I think he was humbled. Because before this point, he's led a pretty privileged life. I mean, he's had a whole lot of stuff happen, but still, he's from this noble family. He has this position of honor. He hasn't really had to, be humbled like he was at that point. Right. And now, like, I see this redemption arc that they're, going for Jaime. And I don't personally like it or like Jaime, but I mean, I do see what they're doing. And I see that they're trying to, repaint this character, that was, completely disfavorable and put him in a much better light.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and I can appreciate that they're trying to show he's a changed person.
Mm-hmm. Now, quick question, while we're still on the topic of Lannisters. We all know that prophecy where Cersei is supposed to be killed by her younger brother, and Cersei is, is thinking it's Tyrion, and she's always, been very cautious of him and everything. But does anybody else think that it's actually probably relating to Jaime?
It could be, honestly, but I know they're twins. I don't know which one is older, technically.
I think she is the older. I think she's the older one. So he is technically younger. Because this is my own personal theory, and maybe, again, it's kind of the writer in me wanting things to come full circle, because, Jaime is the one who killed, Aerys Targaryen and, killed the Mad King. He's the Kingslayer. And I think it would just be a perfect circle for him to come back and have to kill Cersei, the queen, become the Queenslayer. But this time, he's a completely different person.
Yeah, like a changed man.
Yes, exactly. So I personally think that would be really cool to see, but I mean, we'll see if that's what the writers think.
Why does she cut her hair?
No, she didn't cut her hair. She went through the whole penance thing where she had to.
Was that in season 6?
I haven't really gotten to it yet.
Yeah, so she was forced
just
to
now confessing.
Yeah, so she was forced to cut her hair and walk naked through the streets, and that's where the whole shame thing comes from.
Yeah, yeah,
that's where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Marcel dead?
So.
Marcella, her daughter.
Yeah.
Oh yes, she is very dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, she's very dead.
Yeah. So now all 3 of her children are dead at this point.
Yep.
Wait, I don't know how Tommen dies.
Tommen jumped out a window.
Yeah, because Cersei...
I figured he was going to starve himself to death, so...
Well, see, he had married Joffrey's bride.
Marjorie.
Yep. Marjorie, yes, he had married Marjorie. Yep. And Marjorie was in the sept of Baylor along with her brother Loris, and they, basically defending him on this trial or whatever. And Cersei blew up the sept, and he saw it, and it's a great cinematography moment because he sees it and he's just like agape at it, and he walks away from the window.
Shock.
Yeah, and he walks away from the window, and the camera never moves. The camera's still on the window. He walks away from it, and then all of a sudden you see him move back into frame, step up on the ledge, and then just fall.
And then he's gone.
Yep. It was a wonderful moment.
So everyone else was supposed to be at the sept, but the only reason he was not there was because Cersei kept him in the castle with her.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Have any of you guys heard the rumors about whoever the Night King is?
I've heard the rumors. I haven't looked into it a whole lot.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it a lot either, but I'm not really buying
Wait a minute. What are the rumors, though?
The rumors is that Bran is the Night King somehow. Like, it relates back to Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven.
Yeah.
But Bran's still alive.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably some, time thing. Because remember, the Three-Eyed Raven can look at everything throughout time.
He can visit all moments in time.
Okay.
Because he's basically... So they kind of explained a little bit about what the Three-Eyed Raven is. He's like the memory of time-ish. Something like that. So, everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen is, stored in the Three-Eyed Raven.
Okay.
I think the three eyes, present, past, and future kind of thing.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the deal there. And
so is that the only rumor you've heard, that he was Bran?
That's the only one I've heard,
yeah,
and I'm
me too.
not falling for it. I just have to talk about a couple of my favorite ships that may or may not be sailing.
Oh my.
Because...
Okay.
From ever since Arya and Gendry met, I've always loved those two.
Yes.
I'm like, yes. I mean, I had no idea how age gap they were, because it's really hard to tell how old Gendry is when they first meet.
I think he was supposed to be about 16-ish, and I know Arya was about 12, 13 at that time. Because I know she was...
they're not super far apart.
Because I know she was 12 at the beginning of the series, and
and then
this
they met
point,
a few seasons later.
Yeah, and at this point, it's been 6 years since the first season, so she's 18 now. So he was So he's probably early 20s.
Yeah, something like that. So there's a little age gap, but not anything weird.
Yeah,
sure.
He just looks older. When they meet him, because he's all dirty in the smith shop and everything, so you can't really tell.
And he's buff because, Smith.
Right, he's a smith, exactly. So, it's hard to tell, but I just always thought that they would be really good together, so I love them. And then I've also, there was another one that was kind of an offbeat one that I thought of the other day, and I can't remember it now, but... the very popular Brienne and Tormund. Yes.
Oh, yes. I love it. I love it so much.
Yes.
That is my absolute favorite ship in the whole series. And they haven't even done anything other than look at each other or talk a little bit with each other.
It's
but
just
it
Tormund
is great.
being a goofball and Brienne being no thanks.
And making a total fool of himself. But
right.
It's
absolutely.
Great. He
is
he
the very... actually falling for her?
Yeah, he is the very definition of take a shot, just take it.
Yep.
Just go for it.
He makes no
no bones about it.
No bones about it. He's just up front hey, there's that woman there. Mm-hmm.
I like the big woman.
Right, yep.
See, I have to admit, if I had a favorite character, and not to say all of her favorite characters happen to be female, but I would say Brienne was definitely my favorite.
Oh, I love her
She's
too.
fantastic.
She is now. I imagine she's going to continue to be. And the actress who plays her is also extremely talented, gorgeous, beautiful woman. One of the few tall women in the industry, and classically trained. I think she worked at the Rose Theater. Just reading her story and things she's said about being Brienne and being someone who girls can look up to and know that they can do whatever they want and stuff like that. That feminism air is just my favorite thing.
Oh, yeah.
She's just I want to be her when I grow up, that kind of thing.
Yes.
There was this
yes.
great little moment. You'll have to look for it in the upcoming episodes, Lindsay,
Okay.
where Brienne and Arya actually meet,
Yes.
Ooh.
and they get to spar, and it is
Oh, wait.
Oh,
amazing.
it's great.
It is
They
amazing.
did already meet, though.
Oh, they did?
Well, briefly,
Well-
when the Hound had Arya,
When
right?
the Hound, yeah. So after that?
Yes, they
After
meet.
that, they meet again.
They meet again, and they get
After
to
Arya
spar.
had some training.
Yes,
Oh,
with the
okay.
Yes.
with the no face,
The face, yeah,
Mhm.
faceless men,
Right.
and it is great. I loved the whole thing. So
Oh yeah.
that's something for you to look forward to, because that is
Okay.
just fantastic.
Definitely.
Now,
And
speaking,
I mean, there's been a couple of really cool things, too. Like, I love the night is dark and full of terrors.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it. I
It's
feel
like
like-
creepy but true.
it's a lot of good quotables from
Yes.
the series. Quotable quotes.
exactly. I love quotable quote.
Just one last thing, because I know in the last episode there was one fan theory that has now officially been completely shot down.
Yes.
And because when Arya was overtraining with the Faceless Men, she had a rival called the Waif, and if anyone remembers, she and the Waif fought like viciously, literally to the death. And at their last little meeting, Arya actually whipped out the candle so that it was dark, and so you don't actually see their very last confrontation. And all you see next is that Arya goes into the temple area there, and she tells them that basically she's leaving. And there was the fan theory that was not Arya; it was actually the Waif who was acting as Arya. And I kind of never personally bought it, because I was like, if the Waif became Arya, then why is she carrying out all this revenge that Arya was
Right,
interested in?
yeah.
Like, how would she know? Why would she
Right.
care? And all of that. But it was officially debunked last night, because you got a chance to look at Arya's side, and it had the scars from her encounter with the Waif.
Okay.
So that's completely debunked. That is not the Waif. It is definitely Arya Stark.
Unless the Waif was able to recreate those scars.
Well, if they wouldn't have been
herself?
Well,
scars,
not
they would have been
at
wounds.
the way she was wounded. Though I don't think you'd really be able to recreate that very
Okay.
well on yourself.
I'm of course just
Yeah.
trying to be a...
Of
Devil's
course,
advocate.
Yeah. Of course, you got to try it. But because if it were the Waif would have had to accurately replicate the wound at that time, and then have
Right.
it progress to healing and then scars, and it seems
I don't
like
know
a
how
lot of
any of
work
that
to
works,
me.
but yeah.
And
I
then
don't know.
she,
Seems
and
like
then
it
she'd
would
have
be a lot of
to,
work.
yeah. And then the whole thing of her, actually carrying on with the revenge that Arya was doing. It's
Right.
like,
Right,
why
right.
would she even do
That-
that? How
that
would
I
she
think-
even know?
That's right.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Just, all these little nods that they've had in the past couple of episodes, even though there's not a whole lot of action going on, there's still a lot of things going on as they set up for this battle. And
Right.
there's
Yeah,
quite a
that's
few
exactly-
nods and callbacks to earlier episodes, other characters, other situations that I really, really appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of intentional too, because
Oh, yeah.
they know that the next episode with the battle is going to be big, and
it's going to be
everybody's waiting
heartbreaking.
for it. Yes,
People are going to
gonna
die.
die, and there's going to be a lot of what just happened, what's going on, and so these first two episodes are very expositionary.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel
Laying
I
the
feel
groundwork.
it's almost a gift to fans, to have
Yeah.
let them have these happy moments now, because there will be no happy moments ever again.
Right.
I did also want to mention, I know, Emily, you said you never liked Theon, you always hated Theon, etc.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's something to be said for the actor and for the character that makes you hate him so much and absolutely
Yeah.
despise him. and then
The actor does a
almost
good
kind of
job
start
of
rooting
making
for him,
him-
feeling sad for him, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, I don't know if it's actually Alfie Allen who's making us feel that way, but
If he is,
I don't
he's doing a
hate
great
him
job of
as
it.
much.
Yeah, well, like, I will say he has gotten better. I really
Yeah.
did not like him in the first few seasons. And after his time with Ramsey, and once he stopped being Reek and came back to himself, I started to
Mm-hmm.
appreciate him a little bit better, because he actually kind of came to terms with his situation and how to be honorable and that sort of thing. So
Right.
like, he's gotten better, but he's just not my favorite.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like there are certain things you do and you can't come back from, like
Oh, yeah.
murdering
Right.
innocent children.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for me, that's a big
really-
one.
Yeah.
That is a big one.
But
Yep.
I mean, people also change and they go through life-changing things, and
Yeah.
You know, there is a
I
very
like to believe that that's a thing.
there is
Yeah.
a very wise saying, which you would not even expect at all to come from the movie Total Recall, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
Watched that movie growing up.
Kuatu says, "You are what you do." So, I have always thought that is very intuitive to measure people, and by extension, characters. Is you are
Yeah.
what you do, because you can say this is who you are. You can say this is what you'll do or you want to do, but you
So
need to
basically,
look at your
you're saying-
actions.
He's
Yeah.
got to do something immense.
Well,
Right.
he has done a couple of things, but
Okay.
what I'm saying is that's how I measure characters and people in general. Is
Sure.
you are what you do. So let me look at your actions, and see
Sure.
measure you that way.
We're definitely excited for the new episode on Sunday.
Yes.
If we're, those of us who are at that point.
I'm
And,
hoping to be very soon.
Well, thanks for getting nerdy with us. If you guys are all caught up with the seasons, what have you guys been thinking of Game of Thrones so far? And if you haven't been caught up yet, well, number one, sorry for all the spoilers in this episode that you didn't heed. And number two, is there a particular reason why you haven't gotten to Game of Thrones? Make sure you contact us on our social media. Let us know. Tell us how we're doing. And if you have any episode suggestions, feel free to drop us a line there. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Elisabeth.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsay, and thanks for getting nerdy with us today on Beauties and Headcanons.